Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land, and welcome to DC Fans United. So today I'm going to be doing something really different from my usual content. So sometimes I talk about things other than DC Comics, especially if it's something that really interests me. In this case, it's one of my favorite topics. It's retro PC games or classic PC games. Now, the term retro really varies depending on your age. So I'm only going to be ranking games I've played extensively myself. So some games that I know are really good and would probably be on the list really aren't on there just because I didn't play them a lot. And because it's ones I've played a lot myself, I'm focusing primarily on games that came out between 1993 and the year 2001. So those are, of course, the initial release dates, not the dates that they got patched or expansion packs came out or anything like that. Most of the games on this list, too, are going to be real-time strategy or turn-based strategy, just because that's really the main genres of PC strategy games, although I try to include ones that are the most unique and well-balanced. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on my top 10, but feel free to comment below. And if you want to list your top 10 favorite strategy games or PC games in the comments, that'd be really amazing. So with all that in mind, let's get started at number 10. We're looking at Close Combat: A Bridge Too Far. This came out in 1997, so that was right in the smack dab middle of the big RTS explosion that was happening in PC games. Now, this game definitely has real-time strategy elements. When you're in the battle, it's happening in real time. I kind of double checked to see if it was listed as an RTS, and it's classed as a war game, which makes a lot of sense to me. It's a very unique game, which is why I included it. It's the only game in the Close Combat series I played, but from what I understand, the gameplay is very similar in all of them. But like I'm saying, it's very unique in that, like most RTS games, your units are fairly expendable and not really that specialized or unique. In this game, all your units are real specific. They're all real world units and use real weapons and everything. All the history is really good. And, if you've ever seen the movie A Bridge Too Far, that's what it's taking place, that same battle. But the thing about it is your units, they can suffer from morale, so they can get scared. They can get wounded as opposed to just straight up being killed like in most games. All kinds of things. It's crazy. Their weapons can get damaged or jam. They can run out of ammunition. So there's all these different factors you really have to focus and think about. And each mission carries into the next. So how well you do in the first mission affects the second and so on. A very good game. I highly recommend it if you've never played it. So the next one is going to be Majesty. This came out in the year 2000, and I don't know how many people really know about Majesty. I don't hear about it too much. It's a really unique game, which is why I included it, aside from it being one of my favorites. It's classed as a real-time strategy game, which makes sense because all the missions happen in real time, but there's so much more than that. If you've ever played a role-playing game, such as just say Diablo 2 or something like that, for instance, you always have to go back to a town, right? And buy supplies or go to the blacksmith or whatever. Well, in Majesty, you don't control the heroes directly, the heroes in the game. You control the town. So you build the archer guild and you build the blacksmith and all those things. And then it runs off of tax collectors and trade, and you get more gold and you can build more stuff. You build a market and then you can sell potions to the heroes and whatnot. There's so much more to it than that, but basically you can't control the heroes directly. You have to use gold to basically bribe them to do stuff. But yeah, it's really unique because it combines eco-management, real-time strategy, city building, and the RPG elements of the heroes themselves. I have to say, though, I like Majesty 2, which is the sequel to this, a lot better. Definitely wouldn't be a retro game, but graphically it's amazing and the gameplay is really good. As far as I know, it only has single player, but it's well worth it if you can get it. It's on Steam, so I would definitely recommend it. So number 8, we're looking at Mech Commander 2. Now this is from in 2001. It's actually classed as a real-time tactics game, which is a little bit different from real-time strategy. I'm not 100% sure why. The gameplay itself takes place in real time. I think it's because each mission, carries over to the next. So you carry your mechs through, although you can trade them out and stuff too. It's a really fun game. It only had single player, but if you've ever played Mech Warrior, imagine you're controlling a small group of mechs instead of piloting one. So you have the top-down view. The graphics for the time were really good. They were 3D. The gameplay is really fun. It has some RPG elements in that the mech pilots level up, their skills improve, assuming they don't get killed, which does happen. If they die, they're done, and you have to hire another one. So there's a lot of strategy involved in Mech Commander 2. I liked it a lot. I think it's my favorite of all of the mech series. And there's a lot of replayability because there's so many choices. You get a tonnage limit for each mission, so you can use whichever mechs you choose that fit within that limit. So it's one of those things. Do you want to use a bunch of little ones? Do you want to use 2 big ones? You know, there's all these things. So it's really fun, and I thought it was a really solid game and definitely deserves a place on this list. So at number 7, I'm talking about Warlords 2. Now, you may have not heard about this one. This is an older one. It's from 1993. This is one of the ones I cut my teeth on, though. In grade school, I was really addicted to this, and I still play it from time to time. It's a really very solid game. It's turn-based strategy. It has a lot of RPG elements to it. You form armies and fight enemies, but you also have heroes, so those heroes can lead your armies, and they do quests and level up and get items, and it's very actually complicated and fun game. You can have anywhere from 2 to 8 players, although the other players are all AI. The skill level, though, required can be very high, and you have to manage all sorts of things, like your units all cost upkeep. So your cities produce gold, but your units also cost golds to upkeep. So you have to manage your eco. You can't just build up your armies indefinitely. At a certain point, they're going to cost you too much. It's a really fun game, though, and the quests and things, and you can explore ruins and all that, really add another layer to it. So I find it to be a really good game if you can find it on Good Old Games or something like that. So number 6, we're talking about some of the more famous games now. We've got Red Alert 2. So a lot of you out there, I'm sure, have played some of the games in the Command & Conquer series. This time, I'm talking about Red Alert 2. I like the Red Alert games the best of the Command & Conquer games. I find them just, well, for a couple of reasons. I like how the economy works better, but these games are crazy too, the Red Alert series. So you're dealing with all kinds of real-time strategy units like tanks and infantry and planes and ships and stuff. But you've also got all these super weapons, and just the level of comedy to the game. You know, in a certain way, it's not meant to be taken seriously. It's an alternate history, but all kinds of silly things happen. The production's always really amazing, though. They hire really good actors. I mean, Red Alert 3 had Tim Curry in it and all these other people. So, you know, Red Alert 3 was the last game I purchased in box. So that came out, I think, in 2008. So that's been a while. Everything's online now with Steam and everything. Cool thing about Red Alert 2, though, is you can still play it on CNET if you want to. I think it's really a good game. I haven't played it in a few years, but it wasn't that long ago when I would still play with some buddies on CNET. So that's the first game I've talked about so far that still has a fairly healthy multiplayer community, and really one of the reasons I ranked it so highly was the fun and strong multiplayer it had really from the get-go. And, you know, honestly, Red Alert is just a great game, single player and multiplayer. It's pretty well balanced. The only kind of drawback I would say is it only has 2 factions, with a third being added later, and I feel like the third one that was added is a little too powerful, since Yuri's units can mind control. That makes him kind of strong. So in any case, we're moving on to number 5. So this one's from way back in 1993. Really doesn't look like it, though, when you look at it, even today. It's a beautiful game, and we're talking about SimCity 2000. It's an amazing city builder. I really think it set the standard for city builders. You have to manage, of course, your economy, which is based off of your taxes. You have all kinds of expenses. You have to pay for everything from your police to maintaining your roads. You have to manage all sorts of things like pollution. So I found that to be really interesting. Even from a very young age, I played this game, and it really, even to this day, affects how I think about cities. And, you know, when I'm in a city, I'll often think about the way it's planned and the way the traffic is organized and things like that I would have never thought about if I hadn't played this game. And the terrain editor on it's really good too. So before you even start building your cities, you can affect the way the land land is. The only thing I wish that it had is that the map was bigger. If you've played the game a lot, you know how to expand your city really quickly, so it really doesn't take that long for your whole entire map to be full. And then you start having to build superstructures, which are called arcologies, which is fine, but I do wish the map could be bigger. I understand the limitations of the time, but even the later games like SimCity 3000 and SimCity 4, the map was still limited, so that's my only qualm with the game. So at number 4, I've got Heroes of Might and Magic 2. So I really like the Heroes of Might and Magic series. I've played 2 through 5. I know they've got like 6 or 7 or 8 now. They're all really solid though. Number 2 came out actually in 1996, if you can believe it. So this is one of the great kind of post-Windows 95, pre-Windows 98 games that really dominated for a couple of years. It's turn-based. It's an RPG essentially. You have all kinds of cool mythical units like unicorns and dragons and minotaurs and all kinds of stuff. There's lots of different factions. You know, you can play as a wizard or a warlock or a knight or sorceress. I think there's 8 total, but they're all very different and all really well balanced. So it's just a fun game. It's really challenging though, and yeah, that's not a bad thing though. That adds to the playability of it, especially since it was really only ever a single player game, but it has lots of maps. And I had Heroes 2 Gold, so I know it had expansion packs and everything else. Really a solid game, and it still holds up to this day. And as I recall, it's old enough now that Heroes of Might and Magic 2 is freeware, so just go ahead and Google it if you want to try it out for free sometime. So we're into the top 3. These are going to be some pretty good ones. So at number 3, I've got Age of Empires 2. Now this is just an astonishingly good game, and I still play it occasionally from time to time, although I honestly play Age of Empires 3 more than 2 at this point. It's a real-time strategy game based on real-world historical civilizations, and I'm kind of into history, so I always found that to be cool. It's got an amazing single player, but really where it shines is in multiplayer. Even when it came out, a lot of people played it on the Zone, which was at the time Microsoft's multiplayer network, but you can still play it on Steam with the HD remake, and it's had a ton of expansion packs at this point, I think 5 or so. So each expansion's added more civilizations and not too much else more civs and more maps basically, and patches. This is one game that they constantly patch, so it's very solid. I mean, some of the civs are better than others, but you can generally win with any civ if you're a better player than your opponent. So I think that makes it a cut above most real-time strategy games, especially ones that have this many civilizations. To have so many and to still have it be a very balanced game is quite good. And it has a good economic model, but it doesn't overdo it. You just have a few resources, so you don't have to focus on getting like 8 different kinds of things. So, it's pretty fun and solid. So we're up to number 2. This is definitely my all-time favorite real-time strategy game. I'm talking about StarCraft Brood War. So this is from way back in 1998. I actually thought it was from 97, but StarCraft and Brood War both came out in 1998. Really great real-time strategy game. It only has 3 sides, but in some ways it feels like more. They're just so balanced. It's like the perfect game. It was constantly tweaked with patches to the point of just perfection. It was beautiful because it was one of the first truly perfect real-time strategy games that you could play online. I spent so much time in high school on Battle.net playing this game. It's just so much fun. And there's all kinds of customizable maps and different things. You could always find matches, 4 versus 4, 1 versus 1, free-for-alls with 8 people, all kinds of custom maps that were just not even like based in the reality of the game anymore. It was so fun. And it had a really good storyline that they even expanded into books and all sorts of stuff. So I really like StarCraft Brood War. Is just a great game. A lot of the units were really unique and balanced. Some of them had special abilities like ghosts or queens that could do different things other than just attack. So just even to this day, and I haven't played it, but I know StarCraft Brood War had a remaster in 2017, so it's well worth your time if you haven't played it yet. Even just play through the single player campaigns, it's a lot of fun. So we're at the number 1 top game. So if you know a lot about strategy games, on the computer, you probably can guess. I have Civilization at the top spot. So for the purposes of this list, I've got Civilization 3. This is the first Civ game I played a lot. It came out in 2001. It's of course turn-based and based on real historical civilizations, but each one is extremely unique and has a lot of different abilities and detriments to it. And there's a lot of different ways you can win these games, which I always found to be really intriguing. You don't have to win through conquest. You can win actually through culture or through science. So that's really astonishing if you think about it. I've never played a game like that before. Although I have to admit winning through culture is very hard. I think that's the hardest way. There's all kinds of real world unique wonders you can build too that give you all kinds of advantages, like the pyramids or, Stonehenge or the Great Wall of China or whatever. You can build all of these things, and of course there's only one, so only one player can build it. Really where the game shines though is in single player. I never really ever played it multiplayer. I'm not sure how that works, but I know it is possible with the Play the World expansion. I have to say though, Civilization 4 is my favorite of the two I've played, which are both 3 and 4. I think 4 is really great because it adds the extra elements of religion and missionaries, as well as just the graphics being a really astonishing improvement, which 5 years of software improvement will do that. So that's my top 10 list. Let me know down below if you made it all the way through to the end what you thought of my list. I hope you enjoyed it and agree with the points I made, but that's all for now. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Be sure to hit the bell for notifications and be sure to subscribe if you haven't. And as always, thank you for watching and being a part of DC Fans United.
End of line.